Hello and welcome, and peace and joy be with you and yours. The White Robed Monks of St. Benedict offer the following educational presentation with the purpose to relieve unnecessary pain and suffering and to enhance peace and joy. The monks recognize that pain and suffering throughout human history emanate from human attachment to individuals' creations of their own great Trinity. Me, myself, and I. Humans tend to take life personally. The intended outcome of this presentation is a paradigm shift from taking life personally to creating life as it is. To achieve this end, experience the following presentation, pausing it for pondering and integration. This presentation is solely for the purposes of education. You, the reader or the listener, are responsible for your own integrity, choices, actions, and results. The information contained in the following educational program is not new information. The information was sourced and compiled in monastic form from many varied, diverse texts, both ancient and new. At best, what follows is just a composite synthesis of this information for the reader's benefit. No infringement on any copyright is intended. The White Robed Monks of St. Benedict acknowledge all of their teachers' insights, wisdom, words, syntax, and linguistic formulations of seemingly common sense yet difficult to explain realities. The monks acknowledge and thank all who have come before in presenting this information that appears yet again in another form. Thank you, and may all beings be happy and at their ease. And welcome to the phenomenology of living with dying. Afraid of dying and death? By the way, we have been doing such for eons. Welcome to the club. And if you deny you are afraid of dying and death, then whom are you kidding? Being afraid of death is just part of the human condition. And oh, by the way, denial stands for don't even know I am lying. This presentation is about dealing effectively, efficiently, and effortlessly with the fear of living with dying. Fear is only symptomatic of a belief that we cannot handle a circumstance, what's happening, or a situation, what we think is happening. By the end of this talk, we will have a healthier, more life-fulfilling perspective about our own living with dying. In the mystical spiritual traditions, a common admonition remains: always keep death before your eyes. You need to think about death for 5 minutes every day. It will cure you. It is this thing, this fear of death, this fear of dying before we have accomplished what we want or seen our children grow. That's what's troubling you. We will move through a matrix wherein we shall experience living with dying, being unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, consciously competent, and finally unconsciously competent. Unconsciously competent is when we are open. For example, we don't know about shoes or shoelaces. Then we come to recognize that there are such a things as shoes, but we don't know how to tie the shoelaces. We are confused. Then we start learning how to tie shoelaces, and darn it, they won't tie. This is learning, and for a lot of us, different aspects of learning are very frustrating, like learning to live life. Eventually, we enter a stage of where we become unconsciously competent. This is mastery, wherein we just tie our shoelaces without thinking about it. We just do it. Thanks, Nike. When we take our first breath, we are aware and unconscious. We do not have enough brain matter to accomplish the task of being conscious. We are not conscious of either having the potential to be conscious or that we are living with dying. We have no guilt or pride for our own actions. We have no feelings of blame for someone else's actions. We experience no residual emotional image of self or others. The past is not experienced emotionally. The past does not emotionally prejudice our own views of the present. We have no emotional or me-based conditioning. We do not suffer. We have no past. We know a silent mind without constant thinking, verbalizing, conceptualizing, or image formation. We are totally unconditioned and one with and at home in the universe. We have no present worry, no future imaginings, that is, no anxiety, no depression. We are not caught in the past. Only now. There's no illusion of a continuity of events, no emotional impact, and certainly there is no I as the center of the universe. And we experience no boredom because we have no thought marking time. Anger is not based upon selfish motivation. Anger is very short-lived, without any residual mental impression. Nothing is taken personally, such as flattery or abuse. We have no attachment to the past, no emotion about the past, no romance about the past, no nostalgic feeling. Thus, we have experienced metaphorically the initial non-dual mind of a child. We are totally without a clue to what's happening. We do not even know that something is happening. We unconsciously let our mind become confused. And we become consciously incompetent. At about the 2 years of age, we begin to grow sufficient dendrites to recognize a you, something else going on out there. We enter the world of duality. We recognize size, shape, color. We judge pretty, ugly, like, dislike. Think green leafy vegetables for some of us. We want and we do not want. And we grow the great Trinity for ourselves. Me, myself, and I. Again, we grow the great Trinity for ourselves, for our edification. Me, myself, and I. And we believe in this lie here on out. The relationship between the constructs of me and myself generates that ever so awesome I. As we do not know what or how to do, we consciously let our mind become more confused. we do not recognize our mind's absolute nature. We slip further into a dualistic framework of self-other. And we do not know what to do. Confusion is the name of the game. We experience ourselves as being consciously incompetent. Then we become consciously competent. We become slowly aware of various facts. Change is constant, no matter how much we resist change. Ah, that old adage, that which we resist persists. We learn that our body is constantly changing, moment by moment. We learn to interact with others, playing our hands in either clubs, where we bully and become passive-aggressive, or in diamonds, when we make promises to ourselves and others. Or we deal in hearts. You'll be mine forever, just believe me. Or we deal in spades. Hey, this is the way I see it, and you? We learn that all life is suffering as we hold on to dear life, holding whatever is in our hearts and minds, that being people, places, or things we cherish. That is, we think we need or want. We learn that we fear wanting because we fear having. We fear having because we fear losing. We want more because we fear having less. We then learn that the cause of suffering, our fear, is the desire. Not to fear, to be unafraid that I want, that I need, I must have, or not. And as a side note, if I don't succeed, I am unhappy. And if I succeed, I tire quickly of that obscure object of desire. Christmas gifts, huh? And want something else, the newer, better, bigger, brighter, such as a car, a diamond, trophy wife or husband, a mommy or a daddy. Perhaps evidence abounds. So in order to get what we want, we move into a spiritualistic meta-narratives, such as spirit guides, gods and goddesses and demons, or exotic cosmologies like astrology, astral projection, and so forth, or the hot get-rich-quick schemes, or the latest surgery, pill, or diet, or adhere to the current guru, the doctor, lawyer, motivation speaker, who has the answer. We may even come to conclude that our beliefs and notions are groundless about God, which has nothing to do with God or the guru, after spending fruitlessly a ton of money and so on. We experience grief, we mourn, relationships that end, they all do. Our youth turning 30, 40, 50, 60, wow. Death of loved ones, the loss of jobs or of homes, aging, and the possibility of our own death. We realize that much of what we experience is nothing more than an illusion. Perceptions we make up in our heads, like beauty being in the eye of the beholder. The universe we know is the image of our own self. We can only see what we are. And because we see only our own self, we are blind to the fact that we are images too. The image maker strives to maintain the image at all costs, controlling the reproduction by realigning the production. We realize that much of what we experience is nothing more than a delusion. Our beliefs are essentially lies. We come to realize that in reality there are no beliefs. Beliefs being just electrical chemical activity passing through the synapses in our brains over time. We realize that much of what we experience is nothing more than an illusion, only but a story, a narrative, just like this presentation. We wake up to reality that all is one and the same. Being we are our own illusion, caught in the delusion of our own illusion. By relying on the light of awareness, we can see that the difficulties we face are manifestations of our own concepts. Going deeply into our thoughts, we see how we create our experience, how we alone are the judge who determines heaven and hell, good and bad. All of which leaves us absolutely nowhere. It's all made up in our head. What's true? By the way, we may yet awaken to be just now here. As our awakened state is not real, outside of its own self-proclaimed context, so we are frustrated what to do. We think we know what we are doing, and yet we experience frustration, pain, and suffering, because we don't know and yet may not be aware that we just don't know. And somewhere in the back of our mind, we know we are dying. Life asked death, "Why do people love me and hate you?" And death replied, "Because you're a beautiful lie, and I am a painful truth." We become unconsciously competent. A whole new world opens up for us. The moment we bottom out, yes, life for some is an addiction. Depression, worry, anxiety, guilt, shame, blame, frustration, confusion, wanting, having, needing, wanting to be happy, etc. are all addictions. And the moment we bottom out and accept and feel the pain of our human condition, that in each moment we are dying, that each moment brings us closer to our own death. And we accept the fact that life is just life. Life itself is meaningless and empty. Humans give their own meaning to their own life. Birth is the beginning of death. Life in its energetic forms is constant, both big and small. We realize that fear of death just stems from a belief that I cannot handle it. I do not want to handle it, and therefore I won't die. So there. Just let the whole mess go. Then we no longer need to love life or hate death. We awaken to the terrible truth. We are our own fear. We let fear pass through us as we dissolve the erroneous belief we cannot handle the situation. A situation, again, is my interpretation of the circumstance. That's what's happening. We awaken to dying and death as a constant. Everyday death that we receive in rejection letters or rejection from others. Someday death when relationships end. Parents die, children die, people die. Any day death, bury a loved one. Unconscious death, our own death. Nothing remains the same for 2 consecutive moments, yet we see it is the same, the illusion. We believe it is the same, delusion. We talk about it as the same, illusion. Then and only then we can actually start to live life, rather than life living us. We then no longer need to love life or hate death. We have surrendered. We have let go. We wake up and smell the proverbial coffee. This place is a dream. Only a sleeper considers it real. Then death comes like dawn, and you wake up laughing at what you thought was your grief. How do we do this? Let calm inner balance be. If worried, acknowledge, accept, feel it, let it go. If depressed, acknowledge, accept, feel it, let it go. If anxious, acknowledge, accept, feel it, let it go. If attached, acknowledge, accept, feel it, let it go. And how do we let it go? The same way we let ourselves go to sleep. We let it go by paying it no mind. And what is the it? Conscious thought. Not conscious awareness is when we have to awake knowing we must. Accordingly, we each accept unconditionally with full and absolute positive regard for self and others that I am dying, and let it go. We accept unconditionally with full and absolute positive regard for self and others my death, and let it go. We accept unconditionally with full and absolute positive regard for self and others that I am living, and let it go. We accept unconditionally with full and absolute positive regard for self and others my life. Let it go. We accept unconditionally with full and absolute positive regard for self and others I am living with dying, and we let it go. The result, the ego, me, myself, and I, takes a back seat. Unnecessary conditioning dissolves. Unnecessary thinking dissolves. Time-based stress dissolves. The need for selfish anger dissolves. Self-defeating memory dissolves. Me, myself, and I take a back seat. We come full circle as we experience no guilt or pride for our own actions. We have no feelings of blame for another's actions. We have no residual emotional image of ourselves or others. The past is not experienced emotionally. Hence, the past does not emotionally prejudice our views of the present. One's self-image is no longer a being of edited memories. We have no emotional or me-based conditioning. Therefore, our subjective feelings are but conditioned habit patterns of behaviors, reactions. Me-based conditioning is learned and therefore can be unlearned. Basic conventional conditioning remains. We can still drive a car, use a computer, make $1 or $2, raise a family, and generally enjoy life. We have no suffering. A silent mind without constant thinking, verbalizing, conceptualizing, or image formation. Therefore, we remain totally unconditioned and totally one with and at home in the universe. The mind knows no conflict, and we remain in a state of whatever we may be doing, remaining calm and composed during any activity. This is that. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. We have no past memories, no depression, no present worry, no future imaginings, no anxiety. We only are now rather than nowhere. We have no illusion of a continuity of events. There's no emotional impact. No I is the center of the universe. No boredom, no thought marking time. Anger is not based upon selfish motivation. Anger is very short-lived without residual mental impressions. Basic temperament remains the same. Reaction to events is always absolutely objective, therefore totally responsive. Emotional content, if any, is minimal and momentary. Factual memory exists. Nothing is taken personally, such as flattery or abuse. No attachment to the past, no emotion about the past, no romance about the past, no nostalgic feeling. So a question might be asked, what if you don't wake up alive tomorrow morning? As an action plan, prepare. As we know not the date or the hour, and as an act of love for those who remain in the phenomenal realm a bit longer, prepare your advanced care directive, who gets to pull the plug, the disposition of the bag of bones, thanks Ram Dass, write a living trust, get a will done, and the result, the outcome. As an afterthought, imagine that every person in the world is enlightened but you. They are all your teachers, each doing just the right things to keep you or to help you learn perfect patience, perfect wisdom, perfect compassion. Om Shanti. And thank you for listening. May many blessings be to you and yours now and forevermore. Peace and joy, and thanks again. White Robe Monks of St. Benedict.